Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror and thriller film called Captive. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. One day, Lily finally decides to move out of their house and immediately leaves with her boyfriend, Neil, but she misses her mother and tries to call her. However, Neil stops Lily and takes her phone, saying he'll return it once she starts thinking clearly. After that, Neil kisses Lily and lifts her top, seeing that she has a bruise. Confused, Neil asks Lily why she told him her stepfather didn't hit her, but Lily doesn't want to talk about it. Despite trying to forget what happened, Lily remembers how her stepfather used to hurt her. At the same time, Neil reminds her they're supposed to be honest with each other. But despite that, Lily still chooses to keep quiet and eventually continues traveling with Neil. Moments later, Neil instructs Lily to set up the tent in the woods while he searches for the river. However, while she's alone, Lily realizes that Neil has taken her phone with him. Then, that night, Lily dreams about her stepfather mistreating her. Unfortunately, Neil isn't back yet when Lily wakes up, and that's when she realizes that her boyfriend is lost. The next day, Lily decides to continue her journey alone. However, she gets scared and runs when she hears a wolf howling. Then, she soon finds a cabin and bangs on the door to ask the owner, Evan, for help. Lily apologizes for showing up there and wonders if she can use his phone, but Evan doesn't mind and lets her inside the house. Strangely, Evan treats Lily as if they've known each other their entire lives. He also gives Lily a glass of water even though she keeps asking for the phone, telling her they'll talk when she's done taking a shower. Eventually, Lily senses that something is wrong and tries to leave, but Evan stops her and forces her to return to the house. After that, Evan asks for Lily's bag and tells her to sit. However, they get into an argument when Lily attempts to leave again, forcing Evan to lock her in a room. Then, when the lights turn on, Lily realizes she's at the top of the stairs leading to the basement. With nothing else to do, Lily heads to the basement to find another way out, only to be disappointed. Enraged, Lily returns upstairs and bangs on the door, demanding to be released. However, when Evan ignores her, Lily goes back to the basement to investigate and eventually sees news clippings about a missing girl. Because of that, Lily searches one of the boxes for anything she can use to protect herself and finds a hammer. But Evan suddenly shows up and tells her she's grounded. Once she's alone, Lily cries and tries to remain calm. Meanwhile, Evan locks all the doors in the house using the security system, making sure Lily won't escape. Then, Evan offers Lily some food and asks her to come upstairs so she can take a shower, but Lily refuses and says she wants to find Neil. Frustrated, Evan breaks the plate and tells Lily to listen to him. However, Evan quickly apologizes and promises to make Lily another sandwich, saying he can't have her leaving him again. Of course, that only confuses Lily even more, but she fails to do anything when Evan takes her to the basement, telling her to hop on the treadmill and train. Then, Evan apologizes again and leaves Lily alone, and all the girl can do is cry. Moments later, Evan secures the gate with a chain to stop Lily from leaving. Then, the next day, Evan reads a newspaper but he doesn't see the report about the missing teens, Neil and Lily. At the same time, he gets annoyed when Lily continues to shout from the basement, begging him to release her. So, Evan talks to Lily and tells her to stay focused because she needs to win, but the girl has no idea what he's talking about. That night, Evan provides a mattress and sandwich for Lily. He also watches over Lily as she sleeps, holding a teddy bear and careful not to disturb her. Then, in the morning, Evan dyes his mustache black and ignores the ringing phone before heading to the basement. There, Evan makes a frightened Lily lie on the mat to do some sit-ups. However, Evan becomes frustrated when Lily struggles to exercise, and the girl suddenly remembers how her stepfather would force her to do things. Lily then kicks Evan and moves away from him, leaving the man angry and disappointed. However, Evan doesn't do anything to Lily and just leaves her alone. After a while, Lily steps on the boxes and tries to escape through the window. However, she is forced to stop when Evan shows up, and the man quickly notices she's up to something. Evan says she's only allowed to touch the box with her name, pointing out that all the boxes are organized. Then, Evan asks Lily to do 5 push-ups for him before they have dinner. Upstairs, Evan eagerly assists Lily as she sits at the table. Evan also reminds Lily to say grace before eating, saying they always do that before calling her Catherine. Although she's confused, Lily recites a short prayer and looks around, thinking of running for the door. She also notices that Evan keeps letting the phone ring, and that's when she decides to take the knife cautiously. Unfortunately, Evan quickly sees what she's doing and takes the knife from her. Then, he scolds Lily for disrespecting their food and not saying grace properly, adding that he can't understand why they can't have a nice dinner together. Pissed, Lily starts eating and throwing food on the floor, so Evan gets mad and orders her to return to the basement. The next day, Evan gives Lily some clothes and tells her to get changed. With no other choice, Lily changes her clothes and gets on the treadmill when Evan tells her to. Evan then instructs Lily what to do, telling her he'll be back in 10 minutes. Moments later, Evan's brother, Jeff, visits him and says he's there because he's not answering his phone. Then, Jeff prepares to leave when he sees that Evan is alright, but Evan stops him and offers him a cup of tea. At the same time, Evan informs Jeff that Catherine is back, making his brother worried about him. Jeff asks him if he stopped taking his medication, but Evan becomes defensive and assures him he's fine. Concerned, Jeff tells Evan to stop and listen to him. However, Evan refuses and asks why he came out there, so Jeff says he wanted to check on him. Then, Jeff offers to take Evan to the doctor, but the man refuses and says he's busy training Catherine. Exasperated, Jeff says he'll call Evan's doctor and expects him to attend their session, adding that he's leaving for good. Jeff only wants Evan to get help, and he refuses to say hello to Catherine when Evan asks him to see her. After that, Evan finishes the laundry and tells Lily her uncle stopped by. So, Lily stands by the window and shouts to get Jeff's attention, but Evan tells her he's already gone. Then, Evan asks Lily to come upstairs to get her cleaned up, and as she follows him, she fails to notice Catherine's picture on the refrigerator. Moments later, Evan gives Lily a towel and prepares Catherine's room for her. Then, Lily tries to escape through the window when Evan briefly goes to the bathroom, but unfortunately, she fails again. Finally realizing that leaving won't be easy, Lily decides to play along and pretends to be Catherine to make Evan happy. Later on, Lily dresses up and finally sees a picture of Catherine, realizing she used to be an athlete. However, she gets distracted when Evan shows up with food, and the man apologizes for his behavior. Then, Evan tells her he loves her and leaves the key to her room to show that he wants things to work out between them. Once she's alone, Lily finds her bag under the bed. She also discovers Catherine's journal, learning that the girl hated training with her father. Then, Lily returns everything under the bed and quietly wanders around the house, looking for a way out. However, Evan eventually catches her, so Lily pretends she wants to help him cook. In the kitchen, Evan instructs Lily to cut the tomatoes, but she becomes uncomfortable when Evan hugs her, saying she's now done with cooking. Unfortunately, Evan catches Lily again when she tries to sneak out, so the man tells her to go to her room. With nothing else to do, Lily reads Catherine's diary and learns from one of the entries that Evan got mad at her once for running too slow. Then they played hide and seek, a game that Catherine's mother, Ivy, hated. Ivy also disliked how Evan would make their 12-year-old daughter train all the time, always reminding her husband to let the girl enjoy her childhood. A few minutes later, Lily reads another entry wherein Catherine talked about her 16th birthday. Catherine asked her father if she could go out with a guy named Jared, but Evan didn't allow her and said her uncle was arriving soon. He also told Catherine she needed to sleep early because she had to train the next day, making the girl frustrated. In the present, Lily hears the phone ringing and listens as Evan talks to Jeff. Evan promises Jeff he'll see his doctor, making Lily wonder what they're talking about. However, Lily quickly hides when Evan's conversation with Jeff ends, and she pretends to be enthusiastic when the man informs her that they're about to have dinner. After that, Lily learns from Catherine's diary that Evan would get awkward whenever she got her period. So Lily pretends she just started her period and asks Evan for pads, and even though he's reluctant, the man promises to drive to town to get her some. Unfortunately, Evan asks Lily to train in the basement while he's gone, leaving her with no choice but to comply. However, Lily makes sure to take Catherine's diary with her. Once Evan leaves, Lily continues reading Catherine's journal. In one of the entries, Ivy told Catherine how she met Evan. Then, Ivy helped her daughter prepare for her date with Jared, but Catherine got upset when her father returned home early. As if on cue, Evan quickly returns to the cabin, so Lily changes her clothes and makes sure to wet her shirt to make it look like she's been training. Outside, Neil shows up and hands Evan a picture of Lily, asking him if he's seen his girlfriend. Then, Evan suddenly gets mad and accuses Neil of going there on Jeff's orders, but the boy has no idea what he's talking about. So, Evan angrily tells Neil to leave, threatening to call the cops on him and even refusing to return Lily's photo. Moments later, Evan informs Lily he'll be seeing his doctor again. Lily only listens as he talks about how the doctor's been helping him with his anxiety and anger, and the man assures her he's working on his nerves. After that, Lily coldly tells Evan she's going to her room, but Evan stops her and asks her where she went when she left. Remembering the name of Catherine's boyfriend, Lily tells Evan she was with Jared, and he eventually drops the topic. However, Evan still doesn't let Lily leave and insists on checking her height and weight. Then, Evan gets disappointed that she didn't grow taller and that she's lost 20 pounds, so he makes her jump rope. Unfortunately, that pushes Lily to her limit and causes her to hit Evan with a vase in the head. She also repeatedly whips Evan before running upstairs, only to return to the basement when she discovers the door is locked. Enraged, Lily stands over a shaking Evan and demands to have the keys. But the man suddenly grabs her when she's about to take them. Since Evan believes that Lily's Catherine, he's furious that his own daughter would hurt him. Then he storms off and leaves Lily lying on the floor, crying and frustrated that she failed to escape again. That evening, Lily reads Catherine's entry about Ivy's car accident. However, she doesn't finish it because Evan calls her to have dinner, and the man makes sure to remove his shirt and show Lily the marks on his back. But despite what happened, Evan still serves Lily her food, making her feel guilty and apologize. After that, Lily asks Evan to say a short prayer before they eat, and that's when she notices that the phone is gone and she doesn't have a knife. Then, Lily inquires when she can go back to school, but Evan informs her she'll be homeschooled. At the same time, they get into a small argument when Evan mentions Ivy, and the man expresses disappointment that his daughter wasn't there when the library was named after his late wife. Moments later, Evan and Lily play hide and seek in the dark. Unfortunately, Lily trips and hurts her ankle, so Evan quickly helps her and lets her rest. The next day, Lily reads Catherine's last journal entry, talking about finally leaving their house. Then, Lily writes in her own diary and reveals that she's not really injured. However, Lily gets scared when an earthquake suddenly hits, but Evan quickly comes to her aid and leads her outside. A few minutes later, Lily and Evan clean the mess inside the house. Then, it isn't long before they start training again, and this time, Lily shows enthusiasm. But of course, Lily is only doing that to escape, and just like before, Evan catches her again. Unfortunately, Lily hurts her ankle for real this time, so Evan does everything to help her recover faster. Once she's better, Lily trains harder and aims to run faster. On the other hand, Evan starts letting his guard down and even teaches Lily how to drive. Then, months pass, and Evan reminds Lily that it's almost her birthday. He also tells her he's entered her in a race and she'll be running in 7 weeks. So Lily thanks Evan and says that's the best present for her birthday, and after taking a picture together, they eventually have dinner. While training one day, Evan praises Lily for doing a great job. Then Evan enters Lily's room while she's sleeping and sings to her, and when she wakes up, he tells her he didn't mean to kill Ivy. However, Lily doesn't even get surprised and says she knows that. The following morning, Evan gives Lily her birthday present before leaving to buy a cake. Lily is happy to finally have a cell phone and she immediately saves Neil's number. But despite that, Lily doesn't call her boyfriend and starts training outside instead. Moments later, Evan returns home and finds the real Catherine there. He then asks Catherine to help him with the stuff he bought, confusing the girl that he's acting like nothing bad happened between them. However, Catherine soon discovers that someone has taken her place when she sees Lily's entries in her diary. Then, Lily shows up and tells Catherine she's admired her for a long time. Confused, Catherine demands to know who Lily is, so Lily replies she's the new Catherine. Sadly, Catherine starts to freak out as Lily tells her how she's replaced her in Evan's life. Lily wants Catherine to know that she's an ungrateful daughter, saying she has no idea how it really feels to have a monster type of a father. At this point, it is revealed that Lily has no intention of returning to her family because she's fully embraced her new life as Catherine. She then apologizes to Catherine before repeatedly stabbing her, and then she goes out to blow the candles on her cake. With tears in her eyes, Lily asks Evan if they can go for a drive, and she immediately takes the keys from him and says she's driving. Once Evan goes to his room to get his wallet, Lily heads to the car and deletes Neil's number. However, it isn't long before Evan joins her, and as they're about to leave, Lily's new father tells her to be careful.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.